Alright, Puff fam. Got about an hour and a half in between jobs, so I figured I'd make a quick video. I've had a few people ask me what made me start a window cleaning business, and it's actually quite a long story. I officially started my window cleaning business in January of 2022, so I've been in business about a year and a half now. In January of 2021, actually in December of 2020 and January of 2021, I worked for a window cleaning company. It's really well known. We were off for like a week or two for Christmas. I really only worked there for like 3 weeks and picked up on some basic skills, and I was told I'd make between like $18 to $25 an hour. And before that, I was actually living in San Francisco making $22 an hour as a caretaker, so it wasn't like I was super impressed with the pay. It'd be good enough, you know, but when I started working there, they put me on the worst route possible. So I was making like $12.50 an hour, $13 an hour at the most or something like that. And I was making checks that were the size of checks I was making when I was like 17 years old and I was 25. So with COVID and everything, I had moved out of the city and I had been living with my parents for a little while just to figure out what my next move was. And that job was paying me $13 an hour or whatever. I was getting like $300 checks every 2 weeks. It was something stupid like that. So it got to the point where I was at a dead end and there was no way I'd be able to save up enough to ever move out again. I have some buddies down here in SoCal, so what I did was I just loaded up my Camry with all my necessities, me and my dog, and we came down here just to see what we could get cracking. Before that, I had wrote a business plan for window cleaning and dog walking, because I'd also worked at a dog daycare dog walking business, and I saw they make $20 per dog per hour and they walk up to 8 dogs at a time. So the return on that is great, but I didn't like the liability aspect of being responsible for what is essentially could be someone's child. You know, people love their dogs. So I moved down here, but I didn't really live anywhere. I just was crashing at my friend's house because my buddies all lived in a house together with a few of these other guys, and that whole setup was crazy too, because with COVID and everything, these guys had 2 bunk beds that were in this like side dining room next to the living room. You can see the living room from this bedroom, and there was 2 sets of bunk beds, so 4 dudes sleeping in there. The other bedroom had a guy, the other bedroom had 2 guys, and the other bedroom had a guy. So there was like 8 or 9 of us in there living at a time, and my dog. So I'd come, stay there for 3 weeks, go back to the Bay for a couple weeks, come back down here for 3 weeks, go back to the Bay for a couple weeks. I rode that wave out as long as I could, just trying to figure out how to get settled in and get it cracking. But it was hard too, because I couldn't just leave my dog at the house, my friend's house, while I was gone. So it eventually just dried up. It ended up getting to the point where some of the other guys who I wasn't really friends with were just saying that they were tired of me being there all the time, which is understandable. I was just kind of bumming around trying to get it together and figure it out, so I wasn't allowed to stay there anymore. And miraculously, I had a buddy who had a room open up inland down here in Claremont, and the rent was reasonable. I moved in with him, still had no job, but at least I could leave the dog home while I went out and worked. I started doing Uber and living off background work, because I actually studied to be an actor. That's what I really wanted to do. But I was doing background work, and luckily they were big projects. They had like 500 background extra people, and so I'd get paid for that, and they were calling me out like every week or two, and it's a ton of overtime. So I was making pretty, like, not a lot of money, but decent money to pay my bills, my rent and all that. And my buddy has a moving company, Iguana Moving Co., so I'd go work with him, make money doing that. And me and my other buddy Ed from offtops.net, we'd all be just finding gigs on Craigslist and putting each other on to work from Craigslist, and just random gigs that we were finding. And I'm doing background work, I'm doing Uber, I'm just doing everything, man. I was doing something new every single day, and that's fun for a while, but it gets pretty exhausting. So I finally was kind of settled in down here. I'm paying my bills. I went and I bought my window cleaning supplies at Home Depot. I finally committed to my business plan. I spent like $100 on supplies, and probably 150 or something like that by the time I got my business cards and everything. And then I just didn't do anything after that. I didn't go out and try to close any deals. I didn't go into any storefronts or residential places. I wasn't committed. I didn't have the confidence. I just sat on it, you know. I was like, had my feet halfway in the water. So they raised our rent in Claremont, and I ended up just giving a month notice that I was going to be moving out, because the room actually opened up at my friend's house where I was originally crashing and just kind of bumming around. And I was going to share the master bedroom with my friend because someone had moved out. And it was great. My rent was like $400 a month, so it was super easy to get that kind of money. And you know, it's great because we lived in a house, we had a backyard, all my friends were there, we're all motivating each other. You know, one of us is doing a moving business, my other friend designed the hats off tops.net, our other friend does real estate, got his license for that. We're all just grinding. The other homies, the Cash homies, if you guys know about Cash, AG Club, those homies are grinding on their video stuff. So we're all just like dream team, motivating, pushing each other, grinding, running through the trenches together with absolutely nothing, like dead broke, just grinding, pushing each other to be better and putting each other on with gigs and jobs and whatever. You know, you got to have a good team like that, because honestly, without those guys, I wouldn't be rolling like how I am, because they gave me a spot to stay and really helped me get into position to where I could be at now. So I moved in there. And I remember sitting there looking at my DBA stuff, my fictitious business name, and all that stuff just seemed so confusing, and I thought it was so expensive. It was really like $40 to get my DBA filed. So I did that. And I'm sitting there on my computer just strategizing, like doing some cold calling stuff, but I'm just like, man, I need to start going store to store, start going out there and promoting myself. And my friend Ed from offtops.net, check him out if you haven't already, he tells me, well, I'm gonna call you in an hour and see how it's going. My door-to-door sales for commercial businesses, right? And then I'm like, fuck, like, well, now I gotta go, because this guy's gonna call me and I can't just be like, oh, well, I just sat at the house all day, I didn't decide to go. So that was a real, like, kicking my ass, like, put on my green button up, tried to look somewhat decent, and went to all these stores and was trying to close deals. And I mean, everyone said no, except one liquor store wanted me to do it. I told them I'd do it for like 25, and then they called me and said they wanted me to do it for 15, and I actually ended up doing it. And nowadays I wouldn't do it for less than 35, $40. But you know, I did it. It got me rolling. And then after that same day I cleaned them, I went over to another store, Doggy Details, a dog groomer, and she actually hooked me up, and I told her I'd do it for 15, and she paid me 25 every time. And she recently moved location, so I don't clean her storefront anymore, which is kind of a bummer because she was cool. But that's how I started. I think I had like 2 or 3 storefronts that I was able to close deals on, and they were all super underpaid. Like, I wasn't really making shit from them, but it got me rolling. It had me at least being seen, and people being like, oh, do you do residential? And me having the opportunity to be like, yeah, we do residential. Here's my card, going out and doing a couple quotes. And my first residential job I got from advertising on the Nextdoor app, I paid about $150. $200 or something like that. Ended up being like a $350 job. I made about $35 an hour, and that job paid for my ad on Nextdoor, and it paid for my ladder. I was able to invest in a ladder for that job. And then after that, my next residential job was huge compared to what I was used to doing on my own. It was a $700 residential, and I was shitting bricks, but I needed the money. I had to do it. I know how to do it, but it's like I'd never done a job that big, so it's a little overwhelmed. I did it all from my ladder. There's a ton of divided windows. I broke like 20 of her screens because the corners of the plastic were all rotten. And this is my second residential. I'm breaking a ton of screens, and I think I don't know if it's my fault or if it's because of the plastic. You know, I've never broken any screens before when I worked at the major company, but I was only there for a little while. And she actually told me, oh no, that was expected because all these corners are rotten. And that was like a stripe that I earned, I feel like, just dealing with that and being upfront and honest about what had happened, and just kind of learning how to manage and deal with clients when things don't go right. And so I scooped that up and really saw the earning potential in all this. And then the ball just kept rolling that summer, and I ended up doing pretty decent my first year. I bought a water fed system, and just got it cracking. You know, if you guys have been keeping up, you saw I ran my first year and a half out of a 2009 Toyota Camry with my DI system in the back, leaf blower in the trunk, screen cleaner in the trunk. Like, that car was packed to the top. Yeah, I had it packed like a work van, you know. You just got to work with what you got. You don't got to have the fully wrapped fucking $25,000, $35,000 truck or whatever. You just got to pull up and do a good job. And if you do a good job, people will respect your hustle. And maybe you're not doing these big commercial jobs, but you're doing single stories. You just got to work with what you got, dude. And like, people are always hitting me up, asking me all these questions. How do you get work? A lot of it's word of mouth, man, and just being consistent and being a go-getter, you know. No guts, no glory. You got to buck up. And how do you do it? You do it by going out and doing it. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's so stressed out about how do you do it? I don't know. And it's like, well, you're never going to know unless you do it. Yeah, do your research, know what you're doing, practice at home. You know, I'm not even saying just for window cleaning, whatever service you're looking for. You could go out there and just cut grass, dude. You got a lawnmower at home and some edgers, and you know what you're doing? Start going door to door and just offering your services. And, you know, I didn't start out legit either, man. I didn't have insurance or none of that crap. It's just as soon as I started getting higher end clients who would ask me if I had insurance, I lost a $600 job because I didn't have insurance and he went with someone else. And after that, I had another $650 job and he asked if I was insured, and I just copped it that day. You know, next insurance. It doesn't take long to get approved for insurance, and it's like $100 a month, a little less than $100 a month. And I'm covered for general liability, my tools, and I get starting out, you maybe don't have that money laying around, so you better be careful as hell. I'm not recommending you start without insurance, but I definitely did. I didn't have insurance. I was just, you know, floating under the radar doing what I had to do to get rolling because I didn't have a choice, man. I had to get it cracking. I can't just be that dude busting out random Craigslist gigs, not knowing where my money's coming from. And even with this business, sometimes you don't know when it's going to dry up, but that's why I just stay consistent and go hard. But for all you guys out there, you don't even got to get into window cleaning. Do whatever you know, man. If you got something that's going to save people time and bring value to their life, just go do it and quit sitting around. And a lot of it's just confidence. You got to have the confidence to make mistakes, because mistakes are going to happen no matter how good and experienced you are. Shit's going to happen. But you just got to handle it like a boss. Explain what happened, apologize, see how you could fix it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to get out there and get it cracking. And I see a lot of guys out there talking about like, oh, I did it, you can do it too, it's super easy. It's not fucking easy. Like, some dudes got fucking kids, parents they're taking care of, debt, a ton of debt, and just they're not in a position to go out and start their own business. They can, but it's not going to be easy. And maybe, you know, you start as a side hustle and just build into it. Shit doesn't happen overnight. But I just want you guys to know, like, you can do it. But I'm not here to fucking sell you some shit on it being fucking easy, because it's not fucking easy. It's hard, dude. It was really hard to get this shit rolling, especially in the beginning. Nowadays, I got some momentum. I got a reputation. You know, the ball's in my court, and I got all my stuff set up and properly lined up. I got my business license, my DBA. I'm finally rolling in a van, like. But that's my story of how I got started, man. And I'm just grateful to God to be in this position where I can help some of you guys out there, and I could work on my own time, and I can make money to survive, because I live in California and it ain't no fucking joke out here, dude. Shit's expensive. I don't want to get too much on a rant. I just want to fire you guys the fuck up. Let's get this shit, dude. Quit fucking being a baby. Go out there and fucking get it, man. And like I said, it's not easy, but you got to nut up, dude. So I'm not trying to yell at you guys. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I'm just trying to fucking be motivating. Let's get this shit, man. What are you waiting for? You know, tomorrow isn't promised. You got to get after it and start slow, build up. You don't need $1 million company. You don't need a $100,000 company in a day. Make 10 grand a year off it. And the next year do 20, and then 30, and then 60. So that's how I got started. Hope this is helpful to you guys. Hope you're motivated. It doesn't even have to be window cleaning. Find a service-based business that you can commit to, that makes people's lives easier, that saves people time, and that's gonna get you paid. Peace.